Listen, it has been a hearty 3 weeks for me. I have been MIA, I've been in the trenches, but I am proud to announce that your cleanup crew has been reunited, and it feels oh so good. Adolfo, I've really, really missed you. I really have.
You've been missed, and we're back in the old recording studio. Place hasn't changed a bit. Yeah,
Ceiling falls apart. We'll
yeah,
clean that
it's
up
good.
later.
Yeah, we'll fix it in post.
We'll fix it in post. But first and foremost, I would like to thank Adolfo and his lovely wife Alice for holding down the fort for the last 2 weeks. Their reviews of Rampage have been really, really fun to watch, and I got the lovely privilege to edit them, so it was really, really fun to hear your guys' take. But Alice is away, and I have returned for now.
For now.
For now. I'm on a part-time contract. Like, I'm on a Legends deal where I pop in. I pop in like ever so often, and then like I come and go as I please, apparently. But the cleanup crew, the OG cleanup crew, is reunited, and we're here to review another AEW Rampage. This time from Friday, January 19th, 2024. I'm gonna just say this off the top. There was a lot of stuff I liked, and honestly, for the most part, this was a pretty fun ramp. Okay, I lied. So I feel like after the second match onwards, then everything was really, really good. The first 2 matches were okay to I see you. But overall, I still enjoyed this Rampage.
I thought it was a good Rampage as well. I didn't think I'm on a different side of the spectrum. I didn't think I was gonna enjoy like the main event match. I didn't think I was gonna enjoy as much as I did. And Jericho Sydal, I didn't think I was gonna enjoy as much as I did, but we're gonna get into that. Let's go ahead.
Well, I mean, let's just get the big elephant out of the room. So Rampage opens up this week. We have Kris Jericho versus Matt Sydal, with Don Callis joining at the commentary table. So, okay, I will admit, despite my issues that I have with Jericho and all the allegations that he's involved in the last couple of weeks since World's End, with all that situations, neither here nor there. As much as I still don't like that portion of him, I will admit to myself, I thought this was a pretty solid match. Yeah. And honestly, I feel like this is Jericho. It's sad to say, but I feel like this is Jericho's best match. But I think that's because it's been more one-on-one. I also think it helps that when you have someone like Matt Sydal as your opponent, who's also been wrestling for a very long time, just as much as Jericho has been. I thought this was a really, really entertaining match. I thought it was really solid. This was given a lot more time than I thought it was going to be.
Yes.
My only nitpick with this is that even though he didn't really speak too frequently, I still think that Don Callis didn't really add anything to this. And we'll talk about what happened afterwards, because that was really weird how we got to the end after the match was over. But Adolfo, your thoughts really quickly before we talk about that. What'd you think of Jericho versus Sydal?
So, number one, I actually enjoyed having Don Callis at the announcers table. I thought that the announcers that we had, and then with the tagging in and tagging out of personality, I thought that was good. That kept the announcing fresh. I don't feel so. Don Callis didn't take anything away from the announcing, and I felt like he put quips in to just emphasize the announcing. So I actually thought that it worked. And I did enjoy it, and of course it did set up for what we're going to talk about. As far as wrestling goes, I thought that the match was a very enjoyable match. I thought that Sydal and Jericho, this was a wrestling side of Jericho that I feel like we haven't seen in a while. I felt like he was doing a lot of moves that we would have seen him do in his younger days, you know. I thought that this match was long enough that it also gave Matt Sydal time to shine, and you know, I after like the second or third 1-2 ooh, you know, I was invested, and I was pulling for Matt Sydal, not just because of personal things, but just as from a wrestling standpoint, it just really had that like underdog in Matt Sydal going up against the established Jericho, you know, and I really and the ending I thought was good. Jericho did end up getting the win. I didn't feel that it was like out of nowhere. I felt that it was set up nicely, and yeah, it was a good match. Wrestling wise, it was a good match. I enjoyed it.
That I will give it to. So, when Jericho picks up the victory here, so we got a small amount of stuff happening afterwards. So Jericho leaves the ring. Don Callis heads for the hills, so to speak. He literally boots from the commentary table. So Jericho's going up for the ramp, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that was weird. And then we have Takeshita and the rest of the Takeshita and Hobbs and everyone. They're like coming out to beat up Chris Jericho. Security has to separate everybody. Don Callis then appears back near the commentary area near the ring where he's yelling orders at them. Here's the thing. I know with certain changes happening with the storyline with Kenny Omega's diverticulitis, I understand like it has thrown a little bit of everything out of the loop for this. I'm gonna say this now. I really hope we wrap this feud up by Revolution, because this has been a spinning wheels of since, I want to say probably since even a little bit before Full Gear. Like from October onwards, we've had this feud. And for me, it's just like, it's really weird. Chris Jericho is the center of this, and I'm just like, where is more? I want to see more of Takeshita. I want to see more of Hobbs have some more involvement in all of this, because those two had their own thing with Darby and Sting for a little bit.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we're coming back to Chris Jericho. I was just like, so what is there left to tell in this story? Because right now it's just Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, if that. And I don't know where we're going with this. It's really weird. I was just like, I want this feud to be over.
Yes, I totally agree. I feel that, especially with Kenny Omega, is now going to be out indefinitely because of the diverticulitis.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this story, we need to just hard stop on this story. At this point, I want the Don Callis family to feel threatening, right? Because Powerhouse Hobbs and Takeshita are imposing wrestlers, and Kyle Fletcher's good too. He's been doing his work over in ROH, you know. So this is why I'm giving him a pass on this. But Hobbs and Takeshita are so imposing. Let's stop beating this dead horse. This one-legged dead horse. Okay? Let's have them pivot and turn and go after Big Bill and Absolute Ricky Starks for the championship. Have them go after another established tag team, you know, like an FTR, even though FTR is doing their thing with House of Black right now. You know, or House of Black or something. Have them go do the thing, because you are right. It feels like we got wheels spinning, and it feels like there's no rivalry anymore. It feels like there's no rivalry. You know, I know that they pulled in Sammy, you know, at the last minute there, and that was cool, but like, yeah, this story, because of all the backstage stuff, is just just it's not working, and they need to stop. And we need to establish the Don Callis family as an actual imposing threat than what they've been.
Right. And I mean, and my biggest thing with all this saying is that I want them to be threatening, and at first that's how they were, because remember, Takeshita beat Kenny Omega twice, cleanly might I add to, for both of those matches too. No shenanigans, no nothing. And I thought we were propping up Takeshita to be a big force, and he's kind of just been spinning his wheels along with Powerhouse Hobbs. At least Kyle Fletcher has Ring of Honor to go back on, because, you know, he is the Ring of Honor World Television Champion. So we just saw him this past week, you know, defend the title against Christopher Daniels. So Kyle Fletcher, I'm not as worried as much, but I'm worried for Takeshita and Hobbs because they're just spinning their wheels. And yeah, one, I want this feud with Chris Jericho to be over, but like you said, Adolfo, I want them to feel threatening again, like when initially they became a faction.
Yep. And they should. They should.
Exactly.
Because Hobbs and Takeshita are imposing MFers, you know, and they deserve that. They don't deserve to look like guinea pig goons.
Right. They shouldn't just be part of the goon squad, as I call them. So
right.
Only time will tell. We'll see what happens with this. And then we don't waste no time, because then we get our second match of the evening, where we see one half of the Workhorsemen, Anthony Green, taking on Penta El Cielo Miedo.
Yeah.
Again, Rampage seems to be the only Ring of Honor and Rampage are the only places where our luchadors pick up a victory here.
Yep. Cero Miedo coming out, and you know, it was nice to see him get the W on this one. It almost felt like it was like, I hate to say this, but it almost felt like it was a squash match for Cero Miedo, like giving him the W. It would be nice if this is establishing an actual push for Penta. I don't see that happening because, again, he seems to be that one that they'll push only so far, but then, like, when he faces, I'm just pulling a name out of a hat, like if he faces like Darby Allin, they'll have Darby Allin win to push Darby Allin further. So yeah, it would be nice if this was establishing an actual push for Penta, especially with as much Penta as we've been seeing on Rampage. Like, okay, fine, you don't want to use him in any of the other shows, like, yeah, have him as a Rampage staple, you know, have him as like the Rampage hero, the one that gets the wins on Rampage. And, you know, and then maybe have him go for one of the other titles. You know, he's a good worker, and the guy that he faced from the Workhorsemen, I felt like they worked well together. But you know, it was a good match. Penta won. So I didn't have any major complaints about this one.
Neither did I, but I agree with you in the sense that I hope this is building towards something, because it's been a while since we've seen Penta in any like big feud or any major title picture. You know, I always say this, since when him and Fenix lost the tag team championships, you know, they beat the Bucks, and then they were on a roll, and then once they lost those tag titles, I feel like for both of them, it's kind of just been on a not a downward trajectory, but it's like they really haven't been involved in anything major.
Right, they plateaued. Especially because Fenix has been out on injury and is still out on injury.
Right.
So, you know, yeah.
And so I'm just thinking, you know, it's like, well, if you have a tag team partner who's out on injury, I don't get why they don't do with Penta like what they did with Kyle Fletcher. Mark Davis is out on injury, and so what they do, they gave Kyle Fletcher a singles run. He was involved in that Ring of Honor, you know, survival of the fittest elimination match, and now he's your Ring of Honor World Television Champion. not saying that Penta needs a title, but you could have did something like that for him on AEW programming. But I'm happy to see him get the win. Hopefully this means something more for him now. All right, let's get into the juicy drama. So we're backstage. Renee is, backstage, and she's trying to interview. She's trying to interview Saraya, and then we see Ruby Soho and Harley Cameron.
Don't look at me like that, Renee Paquette.
That ending part was Saraya is so good with the one-liners. I love it, but we literally almost see. We pretty much see Ruby like pin her against the wall, like about to choke her, or like Harley choke her out. She's like, she wasn't even mad that Angela Parker cheated. She was mad. It's like, why would you do this?
Yeah.
Ruby embodied like, where's Rachel? Like Batman.
Yeah, and then Harley is all like, it was energy.
I was like, we're getting. I was like, this is like high school, and I'm kind of here for the drama.
So this build up, with the whole Ruby Soho, Saraya, Harley Cameron storyline, I was curious about it at first. Then what really hooked me was last week when they had the setup with Cool Hand Ange, and this week I'm here for it. I want to see. Let's stop having this as backstage segments. Let us get this out into the ring. It is time. And it is time to make this a full-blown story, because this is great. It's great. And Ruby Soho, I want to give props to Ruby Soho's acting, for how she's been portraying herself in this whole storyline. So come on, Tony Khan, come on. Let's get this story out. Let's get this story out. Do the thing. Get it out.
I know. I'm in agreement with you. I was a little trepidatious when we first got this story, but honestly, this is one of my favorite stories right now on Rampage, which has been really interesting, and they keep evolving in every thing. From here, we're not done talking about the women, because next, and I like the main event, but honestly, for me, this was my match of the night in a weird sense, because this is we had Kris Statlander being accompanied by Stokely Hathaway against her chagrin of wanting him to be there, taking on once again, she's all over the place, Queen Aminata.
Yeah, and still wrestle, and she wrestled that eight person
tag on Ring of Honor.
On Ring of Honor. She was on Rampage,
and then we saw her on Collision against Thunder.
And all the matches that she wrestled in were like heavy matches. Like she 100% in each match. This was a great match. I'm gonna give this, because of what this set up as well, my match of the night as well. But fantastic job on the two of them. Kris Statlander, again, week after week, especially knowing the type of knee injuries that she's had, and seeing how agile and the type of moves where she's able to come out of like a power bomb into a cartwheel, and then showing style and power is just fantastic. And Queen Aminata, I cannot say enough good things about her. She's taken the W in these matches, but I feel like it has not been making her look weak or making her just look like stereotypical jobber. I feel much like Red Velvet, I feel that we need to start giving Queen Aminata some W's, and hell, I'd be even happy to see her win against like a more established wrestler, I'm just gonna pull a name out of a hat. Like if she had a match against Sky Blue, or Sith Blue, I should say. I would not mind her seeing win against Sith Blue. You know, I wouldn't mind win. I wouldn't mind seeing her get a W against Julia Hart in like a non-championship match type thing. You know, like I'm ready. You know, she's proven herself to me over this past over this past 2 weeks. She's proven herself to me because she's just been on my TV and in my ring. So I'm ready.
I am too. Again, Kris and Queen's styles of wrestling very well meshed together, and it was really nice to see a good back and forth. Ultimately, Kris picks up the win here. Stokely tries to go for the fist bump, and Kris continues to ignore him, which is great. We'll talk more about these two and plus another women's talent later. So, this match was so good. This was my match of the night. From here, we get our back-to-back backstage segments. First, we have Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt without the Jareds.
Dissension in that.
The ranks.
In those ranks. Dissension.
It
looks like
the inevitable breakup is going to be so much fun.
Oh, I know. And it also looks like Sanjay and what's his face are button heads as well. So it might look like not only is Jay Lethal and Double J gonna split, but they're gonna be taking this whole faction is gonna be splitting up, and I'm here for it. Again, this is what you could consider like a B plot, C plot, but it's been very with the time that they have been allotted and with the things that they have given us. I'm vested. I'm interested and I want to see this go. So let's go. Let's pull the trigger. I'm ready.
I am too. And this, honestly, I think is going to be great for the long term. Whenever we get the breakup, I am going to be very looking forward to Jay Lethal as a single star, because I think he needs to be used more in the singles division, and I think this is going to be great. From here, we probably get to outside of the Outcast 2.0.
Really quick, Mikey.
Yeah.
Really quick. I just hope that they don't turn this into another Luchasaurus / Kill Switch.
Oh my goodness.
Breakaway story like that's an example of how not to do this type of story.
Don't tease a breakup and then it doesn't happen.
Well, if you want to have a little tease, fine, but like it's just they have dragged this so long and have made Luchasaurus / Kill Switch look just like a little bitch, you know, like he really doesn't have his own mind. And I mean that like with all the love of my heart, because I actually enjoy when Luchasaurus Kill Switch actually wrestles. I enjoy watching him wrestle. He's a good wrestler. So to see him then just like bend the knee to Christian Cage, like I get it. He's the patriarch and this, that, and the other. But that breakup started months ago now. We should have had him break away. So I hope that with Jay Lethal and Double J that they stay on the gas with this one and they just, you know, they have them tear away and not have like Double J whisper something in Jay Lethal's ear and then Jay Lethal, you know, tucks his tail in between his legs and comes back to the faction.
Agreed.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Now, from here, we get probably outside of the Outcast 2.0 is what I called them earlier. This is also my other favorite part. Kris and Stokely are backstage, you know.
Willow comes running in with her backpack with a water bottle.
With everything. So, like, Kris and Stokely are backstage trying to give this interview. Kris is like, listen, I'm not here for Stokely. I'm trying not to do anything. And then from the corner, we see Willow Nightingale just coming running in with her travel bag and everything. And then we come to find out that mysteriously, her flight. At first,
not
she said
her flight, but her ticket. Yeah, her ticket got canceled.
Well,
Willow's ticket got canceled.
It was so funny because she's like, my flight was canceled. It's like, the entire flight? No, the flight happened, but my ticket did not. So someone canceled my ticket. Stokely's facial expressions during
Yeah.
when she said that, his face
Look at
is
you,
like,
Stokely.
Stokely's so funny.
Yeah.
And Kris just slowly turns her head, which then prompts Willow and Stokely to argue. And Kris is like, we are going to figure this out. And so it seems that we're going to get this unlikely trio for a little bit longer, which has me really excited. This has also been really fun to watch the evolution of what we're getting.
Yes. I'm not... Part of me kind of wants Kris and Willow to just reject Stokely, and then Stokely goes and either finds or takes like a new women's tag team and manages them, and then, you know, like becomes the arch nemesis for for Willow and Kris. But then also part of me kind of wants Stokely to become the manager for Willow and Kris, even though it seems like he wants to represent Kris more than Willow. I really hope this doesn't set up like a Kris Statlander versus Willow Nightingale, because we've seen that already. We've seen that. I feel like we've seen that twice already. You know, we're good with that. I would much rather have them beef against Sith Blue and Julia Hart, or you know, Saraya or Saraya and May, or Saraya and Ruby Soho, or you know what I mean? Like, let's just change it up a little bit. Yeah.
I agree with that. Now, the only way I would be okay if it ended up turning into a Kris versus Willow thing is if they're playing games with Stokely and we're teasing this breakup, but then they turn on Stokely and be like, it's like there was no real issue. We were just playing you this whole entire time, and then they beat the tar out of Stokely. Would be hilarious to watch.
That too.
Yeah,
Thicker than a Snicker. Thicker than a Snicker.
Stokely is just so unhinged and off the cuff, and I love him for it.
Yep.
So good. Now, I'm gonna say this: we get to our main event, and I really, at first, I thought this match was gonna be okay.
Yeah, I
really enjoyed this main event.
Yes,
I really did.
Yes.
Darby versus Jeff.
Yeah, I have made my feelings on Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy known in past episodes, and I am not going back on that. Jeff Hardy worked really well in this match. He looked like he wasn't in any pain. He looked like he had great movement. You know, there have been matches in the past few weeks where he has come out and he has looked like he has had haggling pains from past injuries impacting his performance. You know, there was the one tag team match, I can't remember if it was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, where he was in for like the first minute or so, and then he got tossed out, and then for the rest of the match literally just looked up, he was holding up the ring because he was just leaning on the ring the whole time. You know, and being a Hardy's fan from way back, you know, again, this comes from a place of love in that I don't want to see my past heroes like hurt themselves for any stupid reason. But this match worked. This match worked. They really went at it. I will say that this match was the 90s Hot Topic versus 2000s Hot Topic match. This was also the what the F are you doing match, because like when Jeff when he had Darby on the outside of the ring, he set the steel steps up and he launched himself off the steel steps and then got into Barry Barricade, you know, and his hip, and then he was like, for the rest of the match, you know, I wasn't sure if he actually did hurt his hip from that or if he was just selling it, which also kind of like led into the end. The only thing from this match I was meh about was the ending. I felt like the ending was really fast with Darby getting, what was it? The code red into the surprise roll up or what it was, whatever. It almost, after the match, as I was thinking about it, it almost felt like an audible was called that maybe Jeff did hurt himself, so they had to cut it a lot sooner than it was supposed to. Not that I didn't mind Darby winning. I just wish we would have had a bit more of a spot before the pin.
Right. And again, I really enjoyed this main event. I shared the same viewpoints as you did. Again, Mr. Barry Barricade made an appearance. What I loved about this match is at the beginning, they're just like, yeah, this match is like, the rules are going to be loosened a little bit. I was like,
loosened rules?
I was like, when is there rules in wrestling? Like, half the time we still in non-deep, like, I was just like, there's a lot of things that happen in our wrestling where I was like, if it's not a street fight specifically, like, biting someone should get you DQ'd. Like,
right?
It's, anyways, but I really enjoyed this match, but more importantly, what I really enjoyed is what happened afterwards. So Darby goes to try to go for the fist bumps after the match. Jeff teases like he's going to bump fists, and then he's like, I'm out, and just rolls out of the ring without, doing that. I was like,
yeah.
I was like, are we getting the heel Hardys coming back?
Yeah, they have been the Hardys have been making that move towards more heels in the past few weeks. So let's see. I'm interested. I'm definitely interested to see where they go from there. And if we see a more aggressive Hardys, which I know seems like a weird thing to say, but it does feel like in recent weeks the Hardys have been more heel aggressive as opposed to in-ring aggressive.
Absolutely. And with Jeff chucking the deuces and leaving without doing the fist bumps, Darby is how we end Rampage this week. So Adolfo, now we just gotta rate this episode of Rampage on the Empanada scale. So I'm gonna come to you first. What did you think of this week's Rampage?
Well, as per the memo by the Council of the Bi-Conics, Shadow Council,
Overlords.
Yes, of the 10 Empanada scale, and I don't want to piss off the Shadow Council.
They're scary,
of the Bi-Conics. They are. I am going to give this 7 empanadas, and also as I always say, I never give partial empanadas, because when have I ever, look at me, when do I look like a guy that eats partial empanadas? Come on now. 7 empanadas. This was really enjoyable. The only real issue was the first match, and not from a wrestling standpoint, but just from other things. So 7 empanadas. I dug it. I felt it was a solid Rampage.
I agree. I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. For an hour-long weekly television show, I thought this did a good job with some of the matches. The last 2 matches were definitely some of my favorites. I love all the backstage stuff we're getting with, Rampage's storylines, if you want to call it that. And it's a detriment because Rampage this week had the most women's action in the AEW programming, because we had a women's match and we had 2 women's backstage segments, and we're getting those women's storylines being developed too, which is crazy to hear of in 2024. But overall, I give it a 7 out of 10, just like you. And you know what? That's gonna be it for this week. Listen, like I said at the top of the show, it was really, really nice to be back, and you come back in the studio and review Rampage with you. And I'm so excited to see where the rest of 2024 goes, especially now that rankings are coming back to AEW.
Right, I just saw that earlier this morning when I was taking my morning constitutional. I saw AEW spring rankings back. I'm like, Okay. As a new, and I'll tell you what, as a new AEW fan, and I will admit, I am an AEW fan. I'm a year old AEW fan, so for me, the rankings is going to be new. I know for a lot of the older fans, this is kind of, it should have never gone away. But I'm excited as a new AEW fan that the rankings are back and to see how this kind of jumbles everything up. So,
right. And if you want to hear our thoughts on the rankings coming back, stay tuned, because that's going to be before we get into the meat and potatoes of our monthly DC WrestlePod episode, which, spoiler alert, is going to be a lot of fun with the topic we've got planned for it. We'll talk about some of the important news that we've learned over the last couple of weeks from the different promotions, and I definitely want to talk about the rankings because I am happy that they're coming back, though I do hope we see some changes from the last time they were there. But to hear those thoughts, you're going to have to watch that episode of the podcast. But that concludes this week's Rampage cleanup review. If you like this, you can also check out the other reviews we got going on here at the Bi-Conics Wrestling YouTube channel. Follow us all over the social medias at BC WrestlePod. If you want to be a more inside, exclusive, behind the curtain type of person, make sure to subscribe to our Patreon. We love the content we put out, and we're looking to expand this as far as we can. So subscribe to the Patreon if you want to see never before seen videos like our watch-alongs for the pay-per-views. Our most recent one sees me, Andrew, and Will yelling like 12-year-old girls at the TNA Hard to Kill pay-per-view review, which was solid. And in a couple of days, you will also, if you want to, you'll see a bunch of us yell like 12-year-olds because the Royal Rumble is coming up soon too. So it's a big weekend. It's a big thing for wrestling right now. And then, of course, you can subscribe to your favorite podcasting network to hear all the audio versions of said reviews, as well as our DC WrestlePod and pay-per-view reviews. It is a good time through and through. But Adolfo, this was really nice to get back together. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, let's do it again next week.
Oh, definitely. From myself and Adolfo and the rest of the Bi-Conics boys, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and stay Bi-Conic, you beautiful individuals. We'll see you for the next one, but until then, ta-ta for now. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's gonna happen next time? Well, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.